motion to approve the minutes from the June 20th meeting. Junior and Linda, any additions? None? Okay, all those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, next we're on to the informational items. First is the PCAPS monthly report, and Becky is away at training. I don't know if there's anything that, do you have anything to add, Shauna?
I don't have anything to add, but I can try and answer any questions.
Do you have any questions? Okay, next is the workforce report.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. That's on page 7 in your packet. It's for activity through June 30th of this year. Top third is in relationship to applicants and hires. Just as a reminder, which I state every month, hires in the month of June don't necessarily represent positions posted in the month of June, because sometimes the hiring process takes longer than that. Middle of the page is the demographic breakdown of our workforce, and then the bottom third is related to separations. Happy to answer any questions or move straight on to the liability and work comp report.
Does anybody have questions on that one first? Okay.
All right. Liability and work comp reports on page 8 in the packet. This is through quarter 2 of the fiscal year. Liability claims and costs for the year are on the top half of the page, and you'll see just real quickly that currently we have a total of 10 liability claims filed this year. 4 of them are still active. The green line represents those that are still active from previous years, and then on the top right you can see how much is paid out. So paid to date for the 6 claims that we've closed, we've paid a little over $16,000. Bottom half of the page is work comp claims and costs, so similar in concept, just a different data set because we're talking about work comp versus liability. And as of right now, we have year to date 8 active work comp claims where we've paid out just a shade under $49,000 and have about $220,000 in reserve remaining. So happy to answer any questions, and if I can't, I'll look to either Shauna or Angela.
Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Linda.
Liability claims, that's correct. In the current year, we have claims open from prior years. That's correct. So the right side represents just the scaling for the chart, and is scaling for the chart is largely driven by the left axis, which is the claims filed, with just the horizontal lines going across. Yep. Correct.
Are some of those from the previous years that are still open? Are those pending? Is it pending litigation?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Is there one more report for you? Go back.
One informational item additionally, Mr. Chairman, that's in relationship to a project that we have been working on and going to be rolling out. Mark Little is going to talk to you about that. It's multi-factor authentication.
Good afternoon. Is we on? Yes, we're here. We got a new microphone. I wanted to bring forward today some information on a project we're working on from a cybersecurity side. And the reason I'm bringing it forward is this will be the first project. I mean, we're continually all the time working on projects in the background that our users are unaware of to protect our environment. The project we're bringing forward will have an impact on our users every day. And we're bringing forward what's called multi-factor authentication, which means we're going to require our users to not only enter their username and password like you do every day, but now they're going to have to enter or put in an additional code, no different you have to do when you do your banking every day. And that really falls back, if you look at what I wrote up for you about the zero trust security model. Today, we trust everybody that's within our network. If you're within our building, in our network, inside our firewalls, we trust you that you are who you are. That whole idea has changed, and now the focus is on we really can't trust anybody, and we have to protect that. So we started last year looking at multi-factor authentication software models, looked at what other counties were doing, what the private sector was doing, and actually the state came down with a mandate at the end of last year that we were going to have to implement it within our election commission, our election offices, by earlier this year, which we already did. So we used them as a sample and tested a couple of different models, and we've been running, I think, in elections for probably 4 or 5 months now, using a vendor that we've tested. Like I said, the challenge with this is going to be that it's going to impact our users. The technology is very simple. I could set it up for a user in probably less than a minute or two, but it's the people and the change management piece of that it's going to take some planning, because you know, we have users who work at the jail. We have guards who work at the jail who log in, but you know, because I don't own their phone, we can't do it from a phone mechanism, so we've got to use another mechanism. And that's what I brought one today. The technology we're going to use in situations like that is a little key called a Ubi Key. Each user will have their own little key, and that key has a number that ties to that user. So when they go to log in the morning, and if they don't want to use their personal phone, we can set up an app. They'll get a code, they put in the code. If not, they'll take this, plug it in, touch it, they're in for the day. So there's lots of challenges on that side as we work through. We'll have to work with HR, we'll have to work with the unions on how we roll out that piece. We've talked to several counties who started this a couple years ago and had challenges from that perspective. We're hoping we can get some information from them and learn from that. We're going to ask for some outside assistance from some folks who focus on change management and have done this in those situations. The last data I've seen is that right now only about 16% of the counties across the country have been successful in full implementation. It is probably the most talked about subject from my peers across the country right now, because what we are finding is that those who are having cyber insurance renewals go on in the middle of the year, unless you are 100% installed with MFA, they are dropping their coverage. It's happening now. We thought they were going to hit us last year as we go through that process every year. We got questioned a lot. I know that our rates went up, but my feeling is that if we don't get this in by the end of the year, as we renew those, they'll drop our coverage. And it's pretty much become the standard from counties. I just talked to a county board member from another county the other day. Their renewal came up in June. They got dropped completely because they weren't 100%. Part of our challenges will also be is support from the board, in that it's got to be 100% for it to work. You know, it's no different than putting locks on all your doors in your house, but leaving your back door open so you can get in. It's got to be 100%. And if you look into the way the cyber policies are being written, it's required to be 100%. If you have an incident, they come in, they find that you were at fault and didn't require everybody to follow that process, you're not covered. So we're working, and we'll be bringing forward some policy on that side, on making sure that we get the support from you as the board, and basically put in a requirement: if you're going to run on the county network, you're going to have to follow security policies and things that are supported by the board and put in place. But like I said, I wanted to bring it forward to you guys to let you know this is in process. We're working on it. Our goal is to have it in by the end of the year. I've been talking about it to the management team meeting on a monthly basis. I've been putting information about it within the newsletter that goes out. There'll be a lot more communication go on, but it will be a change, but it's pretty much become a standard. I mean, everybody, for any of you who have different accounts that are in the cloud and online, most of us have to provide a PIN or a key. Some of the data that's interesting is that Microsoft claims there's 300 million attempts at cloud-based logins a day that are incorrect. So you take that into mind, what goes on a daily basis. It's not 100% foolproof. The data shows it's about 99.9% foolproof. There's still some little tricks and ways you can get around it, but there's ways we can prevent that. State of Illinois has been implementing it for a couple years across. It's a requirement. Executive order put out by the president last year is requiring it to be fully installed across the federal government by 2025. So I want to try to get enough ahead of the game so that we don't get caught where it's going to become mandatory. And actually, like I said, we started with this process last year. It is budgeted for this year. The money is there. I wanted to bring it to you and see if you had any questions, and because I'm sure you're going to hear more about it as we move along.
Anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Betty.
You said Unity, how is that spelled? Is that a UTA?
What was it? Sorry, I can't
What's it? How?
hear. It's called a Ubi Key.
Ubi Key.
It's a little key, and it's
It's like a little mini USB drive.
yeah. And the thing that's interesting is made in the United States, pretty much used in 99% of the companies across the country. They're not cheap. You think this little piece of plastic would be a few dollars. They're like $31 a piece. So if you lose it, it's dead, then you got to replace it. We've got to come up with some policy around that. What happens when somebody forgets? I mean, literally, if you come in and you don't have your key, you're not getting in. Now, we can assign you a new one or get you a temporary, but from the peers that I've talked to, a lot of people feel that, oh, we want to use the Ubi Key, but they find that's something else you got to carry, you got to put away. For those who volunteer, a lot of people find the cell phone. Most people carry a cell phone. We can send you that pin on that cell phone. That pin changes. So the other thing nice about the key, if you forget and leave it in there, one of the things when we first got it, I was looking at it, and it's like, well, if you leave it in there, then somebody could get in. No, you've got to touch that little gold mark in the middle. So even though it's in there, when you're challenged, all you do is you touch that, and it generates that key. So
Is it biometric?
it's not. It's not actually They do make them that are biometric, but that little mark key, I don't know how the technology works specifically from that, but all you do is you touch that.
But what stops a different person from coming up and touching it?
Because they potentially could if you leave it in there, but at least you know that person's still going to need to know your login, your username and password, because that has a serial number on the back that ties to you, and that ties to your login. It's your key. So
Do we have any computers like at the clerk's office up front for customer service that aren't necessarily at someone's desk?
we do, and we're working through how that will work. Yes, we've got a solution for that.
Is it currently just a generic log on? Somebody can just go up or do you
Yes.
have to log on each
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, they are today.
So that would have to be secure.
Those will have, yes. Like I said, it's got to be 100%. And not only just 100% for our employees, but we have state employees in the building. They'll be required. We have city employees who log into our network. You know, we've been doing multi-factor authentication externally for several years. If you get on our Microsoft 365 cloud stuff, you have to multi-factor. It's required. So we've been doing it. There are already people who are used to it, but now we got to bring it internally. And like I said, it's nothing that's going to be new. I foresee it becoming a requirement for every form of government and across the board. Like I said, they're already doing it within elections. It's required, and the federal government has already required it. So
I know what makes most places most vulnerable are phishing attacks through emails. Are we doing anything? I know this won't help with that. Are we doing anything to help secure that more?
we do. We launch our own phishing attacks on a daily basis here, and it took a while. Now we get emails and stuff. People are finding those cautious emails. We have several layers within our environment. Every email that comes in and out of here is looked at from a level of phishing possibilities, and those are pulled out. We have monitoring devices within our network. That we have a remote network operations center in New York that follows everything that goes on within here from a traffic side that we look at. We have multiple layers. I don't like to go into all those details in public,
Sure.
but we work every day at that aspect of it. We are continually upgrading devices, firewalls, all our network stuff, and education too. We quarterly put out education to all our staff. We've seen a little drop in all that education, but that education has helped. Like I said, when I get emails from, hey, here's an email, I'm a little, is this real or it's not? And people have gotten a lot better. You look at baseline from where we were a couple years ago where we started and where we are today, the phishing has helped. And what I tell people, it's really not, most of our data we have is public data. We put, a lot of that data is out there. The big fear we have in government is ransomware, of somebody coming in and locking our systems down. And from where we've gained over the last several years in pushing paper out and having what I would define as the digital courthouse today, it's a concern. But this is a big step. Like I said, it will impact the users. I think it's a huge step in helping. We've got more planned for next year, some other things. Really, once you look and get the environment controlled and locked down and all those things in place, the next step is we're looking today is how do you recover if it happens? And that's going to be our focus. We'll come back next year and look at that on how quickly you can recover. So.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay,
Thanks.
thank you very much. All right, we have one resolution, and that is an additional appropriation into PCAP's fund for purchase of a dryer. Could I get a motion to put that on the floor, please? Linda, and a second by Betty. And Becky isn't here, so if we have any questions for Shauna about the need for a dryer, I thought that the agenda briefing was good. Does anybody have any questions about the dryer? No? Sounds like a big dryer. Oh yeah, go ahead, Betty.
Assume that the washer is okay?
Yes.
Washer's okay, it's
It's
just
fine.
a big old dryer they need. Sure. Okay. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Opposed? Oh, Steve. Hi. Did you have any questions about the dryer replacement for PCAPs? Okay. Are you? Okay, great. Motion carries. Thank you. Last is miscellaneous. Do we have anything for miscellaneous? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.